I'd like to welcome you to this Confirm Your Type session and introduce you to Marianne. Hi, Marianne.
Hi.
And you've read Discover Your Type of Beauty.
Yep.
And you watched the online course.
Yes.
In fact, that's where you started, as I understand.
Yep, watched that twice, actually, more than twice.
Okay. So you've sufficiently studied the material, and you have expressed, you've decided your current assessment of yourself is which type?
I feel equally drawn to 3 and 4. And when I did the synopsis in the book of each one and marked which ones I thought I was, it was
now,
the same.
I want to stop you there because that was your own doing?
It was because I was
I never say, now go to the list and mark the ones and count them. Now, if that worked...
No, it did not work.
I would have told you to do it.
I actually was at my wit's end then because I didn't know what else to do. I just couldn't figure it out.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad you're here today because in this instructional video, I'm going to help people learn what the most accurate assessment tool is, the body profiling.
Right.
Which is primarily your facial features and also your body language and just how your natural expression of self comes through your being you on a day-to-day basis. So believe me, if you're doing something that I have not suggested, like, for example, I'm going to count the words in each of the types and then decide based on which of the words, I would have told you to do that. So it's not like I went, oh, that's a really good idea. Why didn't I think of that? Because that's an analysis. Mm-hmm. And this is not a system that can be analyzed. It's based on a very innate quality of movement that we're born with. And so I'm having you assess movement and how that movement expresses through your behavioral tendencies, your thought and feeling processes, your personality, which I'm going to put at the bottom of the assessment tool list, your facial features, and your body language. Okay, but in these Confirm Your Type, I especially want to teach you how I assess and teach you how to assess yourself and confirm your own type based on the feedback I'm giving and learn how I do this. So in your case, based on your physical features, you're a type 3.
Oh, wow. Okay,
And we'll review that.
Okay.
So, and it's interesting because you may have shied away from it due to the fact that sometimes it doesn't get the most, when it's not understood, it can be a part of our natural expression as type 3 human beings that can be seen as negative qualities. Mm-hmm. Things we don't want to be. You know, do you want someone to say, you're really pushy? Does that feel flattering and honoring?
It feels terrible.
I know. See, so but think when I say you have a push forward movement that allows you to be very determined to accomplish the things you set out to do. How does that feel?
That feels good.
That's an honoring way to see it, correct?
Yeah, I have to say that someone gave me your book about 5 years ago, and I just shelved it and thought, whatever. And then for some reason...
Just want to pay... I'm going to interrupt you occasionally because the way you said all that, I just shoved it. What kind of movement is shoved?
You're right.
What kind of movement is shoved? It's pushing. It's a swift push forward movement is shoving. And you said, eh.
That's right. I did say that.
Okay. That was all very type 3 of you. I'm just pointing that out. Okay, keep going with your story.
So it took a lot of years for it to come around to me again, and then when I watched the videos,
the free course,
the free course, the thing that struck me so powerfully was for the first time ever, I did not feel judged, regardless of what type I might have been.
Well, that's good.
That
is the point.
and I've always had my own businesses, so I've taken many personality typing things.
So you're very naturally entrepreneurial.
Yes.
Very type 3 of you.
And I just said, this sounds right to me. This sounds right to me, and I want to really investigate this. And so I did. I watched the face profiling videos more than once. That was where I got stuck, as I couldn't see clearly the ovals and circles and triangles you were talking about. So I'm interested in being able to do that a little bit better.
Okay, well, I'm going to point that out on you. So using my pointer, if you'll look, I'm looking for texture, deeper facial lines, angles, and an asymmetry to her face. And right away we see, do the famous type 3 kind of focused, when we get really, ever had somebody say, smile? You're so serious.
You're so serious.
You look angry. I know. So make that look, that kind of furrow your brow. You can see the V, inverted V here in your scowl lines. Now, other types have scowl lines, but we just have them more pronounced, and they tend to be at an angle. And you are wearing a lot of black, and as you've seen when I wear black, and when you've seen any video where I've shown that, and I have a video on my blog where I put myself in, and I've done the 4 types thing and all that, it makes all my facial lines more pronounced. And so we're seeing that on you, and we see the under your eye, there's a little bit of a V in how the circle under your eye, but there's casting a dark colorization to your eye that the black is aggravating. And then we look at your face shape, you have this notch right here that type 3s have where our chins jut out just a bit. So we call it a chiseled jawline. You can even see that notch. And then we tend to have, if I can pull your hair back.
You can.
We tend to have more irregularity in our natural hairline like that. But you can see in you've got this fast movement coming up from each brow that creates this swift quality to how the brows move. And then you have the quality of your nose has a more substance to it. And if you'll turn to the profile, you can see a little bit of a notch right there on how your nose movement is. Then you have what's classic for type 3s. Go ahead and look that way again. A lot of texturizing around our mouth. And we get the most facial lines around our mouth. And again, a lot of that disappears when you're dressing your truth. Because as you put the movement on your body, it now complements rather than conflicts with the movement of your own natural features. And then you can even on your eye just do an angle, like it goes up and over like that, and over. See, and these deep points on each side on the outside. You're sitting very still for a type 3. Imagine you move through life pretty swiftly, though.
A lot of movement, but
What's going on? You gotta keep a lot of things moving forward.
But that was the confusing thing for me. I do tend to really like to be alone in silence. I like a lot of silence, and I do tend to sit ramrod straight, even when I'm driving.
Yeah. Well, maybe you had a type 4 parent that was always telling you to sit up and sit still.
Well, I did have one.
Well, there you go. We do learn certain behavior tendencies based on how much it's, sort of.
I'm pretty sure my dad was a 4. We've talked a lot about that.
Yeah. And even the quality of the way your teeth are set, they create angles. Your 2 front teeth are set at an angle. Go ahead and hold your hand up because you do have a very typical type 3 hand. A lot of texturizing, the veins that present, and then you can see the wider knuckle and all the different texturizing of the lines right here. But those wider knuckles are very type 3 in your hands. You'd have a really kind of what I call a textbook type 3 hand.
Great.
Yeah, so you are type 3.
It's a relief, and now it will be a challenge.
And what feels like a challenge to you?
90% of my wardrobe is type 4. When I look in there, it's black and white.
Yeah, but you probably had a lot of that black before you got into this world.
Oh, I did. That's the
very
color
common.
I like the most was black.
Well, why type 3s go to black and white? It's easy to find. It's on sale, so it's fast.
And that's me. When I shop, I just know exactly what I want, and if I just want
You're in
it.
and out. Yeah, you shop like a hawk. You find your prey, you dive in quick, and you're out of there.
Yeah, I don't.
You do, and hawks are type 3s. You
don't
have the same
see
movement.
all the rest of that stuff.
No, so black becomes sort of this default choice for type 3 women because there's so much of it, and it's taught in the fashion industry that we can all wear it, and so you just default to it because it's easy. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to figure anything. It's just, and there is a sense of feeling some quality of substance about the color, but it's really, in my opinion, the color of death on a type 3 woman. It's just not a friendly color to us.
Well, if
It ages us.
Yeah,
it really
if I
ages
can get
us.
rid of these
You can
by
get
not
rid of
wearing
those.
black, then adios black.
Would you? Are you? You're not coloring your hair, and you don't have to.
No.
Is that something you're open to?
You know, the reason I don't color my hair is I just don't want to mess with it.
No, that's true,
I
because
just
there is a
don't
higher
wanna spend
maintenance.
any
Okay,
time
then
on
I'm
it.
going to encourage you when you go through the Type 3 course for women in your age group that want to keep their hair gray, then you got to go to what Jamie Lee Curtis does. You got to chop it off, and you got to create a lot of angles in it. And it's short and angular and really...
Yeah, I like Jamie Lee's hair. I think she
She
looks
pulls
great
it off.
in it. Yeah.
But that's kind of where you have to go if you're going to keep your gray. Otherwise, it's another aging factor. So, well, I'm glad you even considered the Type 3 and now that you know it, you're going to see it more. And you're going to, in 3 months, you're going to go, how could I have ever thought anything different? You will. You'll just be like, you know how you want a new car and all of a sudden you see it everywhere? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You know,
right.
now that your mind knows it, you'll see it in yourself. It's not that you're being more Type 3, you're just willing to see it now.
So I decided when I came, because I was just so hoping I would be a 4, so I wouldn't have to buy any new clothes.
That's so Type 3 of you. Because, you know, in that tendency of wanting to be practical that turns into cheap.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's like practicality going too far and being cheap. You know, it'll show up for you. It's easy to rebuild a wardrobe.
But I decided it would be an adventure, and
There you go.
I would be willing to take the adventure. Type 3s, the colors that you wear are colors I've never worn, so it will be a real adventure.
It'll be exciting.
For me. It will be, yes.
It's a new
exciting.
project. You like projects.
So yes, and so I came prepared for that, just in case.
Good. What a great attitude.
Well, thank you.
to you know, and of course we teach you in the online course how to find it inexpensively through, you know, we have sales all the time, and then a lot of the hunt for Type 3 in the thrift store, and then we teach you how to refashion clothes and how to use methods of spray painting and dyeing fabrics and all kinds of ways to take a lot of existing pieces and make them Type 3. And those are all modules within the online program, because we certainly want you to have a fabulous wardrobe. We're not like What Not to Wear, where they say, here's a $5,000 check. Go, but, you know, I'm thinking,
Right.
I don't know a woman that could, with confidence, take a $5,000 check and spend it on herself.
Right.
They'd feel really guilty about that. And they probably only do it because it's being funded by a big, you know, TV channel
Right.
that says here. But we aren't necessarily, it's not in our nature, just as women generally, to go spend large amounts of money at once. You'll rebuild your wardrobe in stages.
Well, I'm really excited about the course because I bought it 4 months ago,
Yeah.
but I haven't moved forward with it because
Well, it wasn't, there
I
was,
just-
yeah, it didn't speak to you either. It was a chore.
it was and a big emotional weight, which I'm really glad to walk out of here without.
Good.
And so I'm really excited now to do the course and
Good.
to find out how to do this so it's,
Effortless.
yeah, more fun and, you know, less painful.
Good. And I want you to pay, in her body language, just the way you chop, kind of. That's what we do. We go like this. It's more abrupt, swift movements, which you're
So I
exhibiting.
never really noticed that about myself before, but having you say it and watching you, I'm thinking, that is exactly how I do things.
There you go. See, there it
I do
was.
that all the time.
And I am sure we could hear you coming in the grocery store because you have a heavier foot plant.
Yeah, I'm a, you know, my husband says, slow down, because he's a 2.
I know. You've been hearing that your whole life. And you're like, look, don't come with me if you can't keep up. No. No, now that you know this about yourself, you can manage yourself with consciousness and mindfulness to know when it's appropriate to slow your pace down, when it's appropriate to move swiftly. That's the great thing about energy profiling. It allows you to manage yourself in a way that honors yourself and honors others. So I'm excited for you.
I'm excited for me.
Good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Well, it's been about 3 months since we first filmed Mary Ann's Confirm Your Type that you've previously watched. We're connecting this on to the end, and we've brought you back in your true nature, dressing your truth now.
Yes.
Which look amazing.
Thank you. I feel actually amazing.
You do feel, you like it.
I do like it.
So after you left this experience with our original session, how did it go for you? Did you accept it? Did you start to see it, or were you still resisting? What was that like for you?
Well, I resisted a little while because my closet was filled with type 4 clothes and jewelry.
And you didn't want to
spend
any money.
I didn't want to spend any money or any time. I just didn't want to.
Do you notice that that's a very practical
Yes. Very type
response?
3 of me.
Very type 3 response, yes.
And I actually didn't do anything until I was invited to come back. And then I was really embarrassed because I hadn't done anything.
Interesting. But you accepted you were a type 3
Yes.
energy, but you still hadn't done anything.
Because I just didn't want to take the time.
Yes.
I'll be honest about that.
Okay.
But I was okay with it. I started paying a lot of attention to my type 3-ness and thought, how'd I miss that?
Okay, so I love that because that's what I believe with all women once they've embraced their true nature and it's so clearly shown to them, they're seeing it in themselves. That's a common response is, how did I ever miss that? Yeah. So how do you think you did miss it?
Well, I think it's pretty clear to me. I've been a type 3 all my life, and I've actually known it all my life. I've done a lot of profiling in other venues for my businesses.
Okay.
And there was always this negative bent to it. And so a few years ago, I decided I was going to be different. I was going to get soft and nurturing and kind and loving and, not get irritated at people as easily. and that was my intention. So then when it came back around that I might be a type 3,
You saw it as a negative.
I saw it as a negative. And so I had a closet full of type 4 clothing and jewelry, and it just seemed easier.
You were going to make that work.
I just really wanted
You'd already
that to
paid
work.
that money, and you're going to make it work.
Yes, and the profiling videos were a little challenging for me because I couldn't see it, but after I did it with you, then I went back and looked again and thought, how'd you miss all that? I missed it all because I just didn't want it.
That's true. You didn't want to see it then.
That's right.
You weren't
I just
willing
have to be
see
honest
it.
about that.
I appreciate that. That you were only willing to see what you wanted to see, not what was now so obvious to you.
Yes.
And how do you now what you once thought was negative or expressions that are very natural for you that you had deemed as a weakness, how do you feel about that now?
Free. I really like it because just this morning we're heading off for a trip, and I was really irritated with everyone in my family because I'm packed yesterday and they're trying to pull it together today. And I could go in the bedroom and say, okay, you've got some 1s and 2s up there. You got to give them a break.
A little bit of a different timeline for them.
And so I wasn't upset with me because I was feeling how I was feeling. I could understand why I was feeling that way, and I could understand why they were doing what they were doing. It's just
so nobody was
freeing.
wrong in that situation.
No,
then. You
and
got to have your own emotional experience. You got to understand them more, and that frees everybody up.
Yeah, I just had to reel myself in a little bit.
Yeah,
forgive myself for
so
still working on it.
Yeah, that you don't. You have this conscious awareness now to prevent overreacting.
Yes.
This movement has a lot of value in your life. Can you see in your life where it's been a huge value, though, to the successes you've created and just who you are?
Yes, actually, I've done a ton of things in my life, big things. And it's a good thing people like me are around because we get big things done.
That's right. We get big things done.
We do.
I agree. Way to play big. So, what would you say to other women to give them a tip who are still struggling to, really recognize who they are, to make a decision and say, this is the energy type I am?
Well, I have had some women contact me, and I tell them all the same thing.
So you don't need to contact her because
Yeah,
she will tell you the same thing. So here you go.
You've got to go with your profiling. It's really the easiest. What was helpful for me is I just went and blew my picture up big and then watched the profiling video, and I'd pause it and go look and say, oh yeah, that is there. It was really helpful for me. Don't put your picture on Facebook and say, what do you think? Because everybody out there, I mean, nobody knows more than you, actually.
Well, they should only know what I've taught you
That's
anyway,
right.
so it's not gonna.
Don't ask other people.
Yeah, that, and it just adds confusion. Didn't you find that?
Very confusing, right?
And don't you think you'll attract more of what you're most likely wanting to hear versus what's accurate?
Yes. And when you said pray about it, so I went out on a limb and I said, okay, if I'm a type 4, I'm going to go to the store and there'll be these earrings. They'll be the perfect type 4 earrings to go with this outfit. And there weren't. And I came home and I said, well, maybe you can't ask that kind of prayer, which of course I know you can. So you just have to be willing to accept what is coming to you and what your gut is telling you, regardless of what's in your closet or what your parents said to you when you were a kid. That was all in there too.
Yeah.
Because my experience is it's just been hugely freeing.
Oh, good. See, so to avoid feeling ashamed, you were willing to try and be someone you're not. And haven't you found it's much easier to be who you are and just release those feelings?
Yes.
To let them go. To finally just say, none of it's true. None of it was accurate. I can now just, with permission, you can be yourself, free of any of those shame associations.
Yep, I'm not too loud.
No, we just happen to have a little louder expression. That doesn't mean it's too loud.
That's
I
right.
believe just in the world, there'll always be somebody that will say, you're too bouncy, you're too soft, you're too loud, you're too structured. I mean, there's judgments all over the place. So what I love, Marianne, is that you're realizing it's much easier just to be you.
It is.
And you look amazing.
Thank you. I feel amazing.
And you haven't colored your hair, and I'm not, you will say, Karen, you do what you want. We'll teach principles. We'll teach guidelines. More important than the colors you can see is the cut.
Yes.
And how you've styled it. And it's a beautiful, very angled, a lot of dimension to it. Even your natural coloring is adding different layered looks, and it looks fabulous on you.
And I really love it.
It looks really good.
Yep. It took me a while to be willing to not have it smooth. It's my 60s still. But now I really like it.
2014. 60s. When was that? No. You do like it.
I like it a lot.
Good.
Yeah.
So what's your next step?
To actually take my course that I've had for a long
You've
time.
never watched the course.
So when I got the video, I mean, when I was invited back,
Yes.
and I hadn't bought
We had to give you a challenge.
I hadn't
We're
bought any
challenging
3
you.
clothes at all, and so I had to go online to your store and say, well, I have to show up with something that's my.
Well, I encourage you're going to like the course. It's actually
I'm really anxious.
consider the possibility that it was a system that was created by a type 3 woman. So it's going to be very practical and easy to follow, and you'll have a lot of fun learning. And that's another sign that it's true to your nature. Well, I'll get to that. Or
Yep.
I got it. I'll just watch Carol.
I actually now have a start date.
Good.
I've given myself a start date, and I'm really good at keeping my personal commitments. And so
You're going to do it.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Well,
And I'm
you're gonna
really
love it.
excited about
Oh,
doing
good.
it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And thank you for watching.